What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Bolero Sam here with Gab and Maui. What's up, guys?
Yeah, forgive my dog. He's scared of thunder. It's the rainy season.
Magandang maulang gabi sa inyo. Diba? So, today we are going to talk about all of the UAAP teams. So, if you're a UAAP fan, you will enjoy this. Actually, this is a back-to-back episode, or it's a two-part episode.
This is part one. This is part one.
We're going to talk about half, of the UAAP teams. But in this segment, we will definitely cover your favorite UAAP team. So as you probably seen in the title already, we're going to do If You Were the Coach, blank. So it's an old segment.
One of our favorite segments.
Before.
One of our favorites.
Okay. Yeah. One of the favorites of some of our listeners. So we're bringing it back. After seeing Pinoy Liga, after seeing Phil Oil conclude, and right before we start the UAAP season in sometime in September, I believe, let's talk about each of the teams. So let's do a segment, If You Were the Coach segment, and then let's talk about the first half of the UAAP teams. Just like before, let's do it alphabetically. So let's get started. And we'll try to put chapter links below. So if you want to jump to your favorite team, feel free to do so, by the way. So let's get started. Are you ready, Gab, Maui? All right. Sige, game.
Go.
So let's start with Adamson. Gab, why don't you start for this segment?
All right.
If you were the coach.
If I were the coach.
So si Coach Nash.
If I were Coach Nash.
Natin. Yes.
If I were Coach Nash Racela, my original answer to this was I would find a rich corporation or backer to back the Adamson Soaring Falcons. That was my original answer.
Tama.
But,
Totoo.
Oh,
Totoo naman.
Tama naman, di ba? Tama naman. But I don't want that I don't want to make that my answer because I don't want the UAP to just be about money. Diba? We've talked about this in our discussion about the residency rules. There has to be a limit to the benefits and all that. That's a whole other discussion, but I'm not supportive of that. I think it's a bad way to run a collegiate league, to run a varsity league. So my answer is actually, if I were Coach Nash Racela, I would actually start joining or coaching the juniors team of the Adamson Baby Falcons. Now,
good answer.
Diba?
Good answer.
Diba?
You know what, Gab? That was one of the things that I was going to mention. So, good answer. I like this. Okay, go ahead.
Yes.
Bakit, Gab, by the way? Bakit?
I think everyone who's followed the UAAP knows this off-season, they were poised to get 4 seniors from the high school ranks and 4 really good seniors, part of the championship team of the UAAP Juniors Division, the Adamson Baby Falcons. Tebol Garcia, Vince Reyes, Bonzalida, and who's the other one? Gene Carillo. So those are 4 guys that I think could have helped this Adamson team, but none of them went to Adamson. And now the coach of the Adamson Soaring Falcons, I think is Aaron Fermin.
I think.
Diba?
Correct. Aaron Fermin. Yes.
Si Coach Aaron Fermin.
Parang yata coach ng seniors before, di ba?
maybe, but yeah.
Pero he's an assistant for the seniors now, di ba?
Then there's no bad blood, definitely.
He's an assistant
Iiwan lang
for the
talaga sila.
Now.
Yes, but Coach Nash is not really on the bench for the Adamson Baby Falcons, di ba? And we've seen this trend with FEU and NU, and it has resulted for the most part that a lot of the NU and FEU, especially for FEU, the FEU team from the juniors go up to the seniors ranks. Maybe because they have an affiliation, affinity to their coaches in the juniors division, to Denok Miranda, to I forgot who's the actual head coach of the FEU Baby Tamaros. Si Albano, right? He's one of the assistant coaches, right? So, I don't know. And for NU, Jeff Napa does a lot of the coaching also. I know there's an actual head coach for the NU Baby Bulldogs, but Coach Jeff Napa calls out a lot of the plays. He's active on the sideline, so he's essentially one of the head coaches already, maybe an associate head coach.
Since si Denok is not officially the head coach of FU, si Jeff Napa lang ba yung actual seniors coach na involved talaga sa juniors team in the UAAP? Parang oo.
Si Coach Goldwyn, di ba? UP is
Coach
streamlining yung high school program.
Will get involved na, no? Will get involved.
Yeah.
Pero like, in the past.
I think yung juniors team nila is training sometimes with the seniors team to acclimate themselves to the environment. Diba?
Okay.
Tapos I just heard, for the Araw, might be named as the as the head coach of the juniors division. Diba? If you watch Ateneo, for the Araw has been one of the top assistant coaches for the past 5 years or so, maybe. So that's the trend right now. Kaya Gab's answer was really was a really good observation and answer.
Oh, go ahead, Gab. Sorry.
Diba? So yeah, that's my answer. And I think aside from helping with the retention of talent from the juniors ranks, their juniors team right now is still pretty damn good. Sammy, our favorite point guard, is there. Si Esperanza, si Pomelo Ball. Si Pomelo Ball is actually...
They have to lock down that guy, di ba?
He's a pretty good point guard. He's only an incoming grade 11 student, if I'm not mistaken. So, as early as now, they should be in his ear and persuading him to stay with Adamson. Because really, they need someone like that. They also have a knockdown shooter, si Earl Medina, who was a big part of their rotation in the past championship team. They have a big guy, 6'7", si Perez, who was going toe-to-toe with Collins Akoe in the finals of this past UAP season. They have a ton of talent still remaining in that juniors team. And if they can somehow find a way to get these players up into the seniors division, I think that would be a big thing for the Adamson program. Because, let's face it, Adamson, they're good, but they're not contender good. They're not great enough to be considered a contender. While you can consider them a dark horse Final Four contender, they always have been. They play tough defense. They play exciting basketball, lots of threes. And they have a lot of good players, but they can never elevate to that top tier of the US. Sasabi nga ni Maui, maybe they're a C tier, a B tier, but they can't get up to the S tier. Mainly because they lack a ton of talented players. They have good players, but they don't have great players. Diba? Si Cedric Manzano maybe is on the tipping point of being a great player, but he's mostly just a good big man, diba? To have. Now, if you have players who are talented and have played together for a long period of time, that's something that Adamson can look forward to. That can probably propel them into contender status. I believe. Just look at FEU now. Despite having a ton of young guys, you see the results. They're good immediately. You can see the potential for this season, diba? Because they've been playing for forever. And you gotta love that. So that's me. And if they can't find a backer to essentially, persuade these players to stay for college, maybe you could start by having Coach Nash be part of their growth as players from the high school division pa lang. So for me, that's it. I have no input on the playing style, the tactics that Coach Nash Rosella does. Because honestly, I've told this to you guys in our power rankings. I still like them as a team because they play tough defense, they shoot a ton of threes, and they have a ton of good players. So
and you're always very high on Adamson, diba?
I am, because they're well coached and they play disciplined and they play the right way. But eventually the talent has to catch up, diba? The talent has to be there to match their playing style. So if at some point they can get those talented young guys from their high school ranks up into the seniors division. That would be a big thing for the Adamson program. I want to see them get a championship. I don't know if they've had the longest drought, or maybe it's UE who's had the longest drought of a men's basketball title. I mean, NU was broken theirs in 2014. Tama ba? Tama. 2014. UP has broken theirs. I'm not sure if it's UE or Adamson who's had the longest drought. But I want to see an Adamson championship. Maui or Sammy? Maui, I think nawalan ka ng audio,
Amute
man.
ka, Maui.
So,
natanggal.
Ayan.
There you go.
I was commenting kanina, di rin pala narinig. Anyway, if I were the coach, I would probably focus on everything basketball on the court. Kasi if there's any coach who's had a ton of off-court issues from the past, diba? Especially,
we're going back there pala, ma.
Yeah, sorry, Coach Nash. As Gab mentioned, diba? Adamson is always a well-coached team. I think yung track record ni Coach Nash is unmatched. Diba? In the UAAP, he's been known as a coach that's been able to outperform expectations with every team that he has had since the FPU days, diba? I really think that they should focus on the court, diba? They don't want to be part of a myriad of issues during the season. I think that would lead to them being more consistent. Aside from that, maybe focus on 3-pointers. Get everybody in the lab. Shoot a ton of 3-pointers. As Gab mentioned, if you've been watching Adamson during the preseason, they shoot a ton of 3-pointers. Diba? And they have a lot of Phil foreigners also who look like people who want to jack up a ton of 3-pointers. Yeah, Sam.
So I agree with Gab and Maui actually. So my original answer was, if I were the coach, hindi ko naman in-expect na magko-coach si Coach Nash Rosella, but I said be more involved in the high school program, in building and establishing the high school program. Kasi as Gab mentioned, they have a ton of talent there. And obviously, if they're coming from your high school program, ideally, it should be easier for them to recruit them to the seniors program. But that's not the case, as Gab mentioned. That's not the case from last season. So there's something wrong there, or there's something missing there. Short of, sabi mo nga, Gab, getting financial backing from a sponsor that could maybe help them convince these players to continue their journey with Adamson sa seniors division. Maybe it's really Coach Nash being more involved or integrated into the high school program system. But since Gab talked about that, and Maui mentioned less of court drama, let me just add to that. Siguro what I want to add also is, if I'm the coach, if I'm Coach Nash, I also want to avoid a repeat of Lastimosa's last year. What am I talking about? We know na he suffered an ACL supposedly during the preseason, and for some reason he still was able to play during the season, and aggravated his injury, diba? So that sort of derailed his pro career. We have to say that. It really derailed his pro career kasi he cannot go pro if he's rehabbing, diba? If he's injured. So last year was a waste for him in the UAP, and then this year is still a waste because it derailed his pro career. Now we're hearing rumors, actually, wala pa namang confirmation, I would think, correct me if I'm wrong, that Joem Sabandal, one of their top guards from last year, who filled in for Lastimosa, by the way, has suffered also an ACL. But it's just like last year where we're not hearing any confirmation or news about Sabandal. And the scary part is, this is exactly what was happening last year, diba? Na there was mystery na we were just hearing rumors na, okay, Lastimosa suffered an ACL, pero walang news. Parang ayaw i-confirm kasi holding on to hope na baka makalaro pa for the UAAP season. Now, again, this is just a rumor. Maybe once we post this podcast, ma-confirm na, ma-debunk na, hindi siya ACL, minor injury lang, he'll be ready by the season. That would be great. But, I just really hope and pray na, number one, sa bandal is okay, hindi siya ACL, and that he can play. But number two, if it is an ACL, let's just avoid the fiasco of last year na we force another player to play. He aggravates his injury and could derail his future pro career. Kasi as we've talked about this, important for these guys to start their pro career early kasi they have a very finite time or limited time of earning money and playing pro. So, yun, I just wanted to add that to what Maui said, I think.
Yes, Sammy, I was gonna say, I think that's to Maui's point, no? That's off-court drama. If Joem Sabandal there's mystery surrounding Joem Sabandal, that's additional off-court drama. So I agree, no? Less off-court drama. I mean, make it about basketball. Try to make the Final Four. I think that's gonna be it. That has to be it for Adamson this coming season. Okay, are we gonna let the cat out of the bag and talk about
moving on?
the shirts you're wearing.
Next team, we have to talk about de Manila University, the Blue Eagles. Let's start with you, Maui, since tayo naka-blue today, naka-boleros blue today.
Yeah.
If you were Coach Tab, Maui,
if I were Coach Tab, I would, for the next 3 months, all I would do is look for a big man. Diba? I think that's been the biggest issue of Ateneo. If last year the biggest issue was
biggest issue,
the point guard. This is really the biggest issue of Ateneo. We don't know. I think I was talking to the BEBOB account sa Instagram ng Ateneo. That's the same concern. Where's our big man? Where's our FSA? So 2 problems. First, the FSA slot. Diba? We don't know what is happening with Balogun is really true. Does he really have a back injury? Is it academics? Why is he not playing? Yung original, I think Coach Sandy was interviewed. He said that they wanted to give the younger guys more opportunities to get minutes. I don't know. At this point, I do not know what is the real issue, what is the real reason why Balogun has not suited up for Ateneo. I think even yung games nila right now in Australia, which is a very big part of their preparation, I don't think Balogun is playing. From the video I saw, I didn't see Balogun. So that's a big issue. Historically, you cannot compete in the UAAP without a decent FSA. And we've seen a team like UST lose an FSA before the season. And look what happened to them, diba? Last year. Second issue is a backup big man. I think Christian Porter has done a good job at playing at the 5, but I think that Ateneo has to look for more, diba? Right now, we don't know who will be the other big man. Demisanas been out almost the whole preseason with a myriad of injuries and illness. I think si Kyle Ong, I'm not sure if he's gonna be ready to be the backup big man and to log big minutes. So yeah, if I were the coach, I would definitely look for height, diba? Not just a big man, but height. Rumor has it that Kofi, the one playing the FSA of Ateneo in football, could be the FSA of Ateneo for basketball, but that's also not confirmed yet. So if I were Coach Tab, I would spend the whole off-season looking for even a one-and-done FSA. Diba? If other teams can find one-and-done FSAs, then maybe that could be the route for Ateneo until they look for a more suitable solution for the long term. Diba? Ateneo cannot play Mason Amos at the 5. I think that's what we've seen during the preseason. He will just get into foul trouble. And you cannot utilize Mason's strengths, diba? If he's sitting in the bench in foul trouble. Yeah, I think that Ateneo has solved yung point guard issues with what I've seen with Bahay and Espinosa. I have to be clear, what I've seen with Espinosa. I think that Espinosa could be a suitable backup point guard for this season. I've seen enough improvement from him. The big problem is yung big man slot ng Ateneo. We've seen how LaSalle has manhandled Ateneo during the off-season. I think versus most teams now, Ateneo has been competitive, but against LaSalle, they were really manhandled. Sam, Gab.
Okay, let me jump into that kasi that's the obvious answer, diba? So that's the answer that I also had if I were Coach Tab. I'd be focusing on looking for a big man. Kahit saang sulok ng mundo yan. Basta may Filipino blood na eligible na ilaban na natin yan. It's really that difficult. We've seen it sa FEU and UST last year when they didn't have an FSA na play. Well, UST lost their FSA. FEU, they had an FSA pero unplayable also. And they didn't have a backup big, diba? So we saw Cholo Año Nuevo playing the center a lot of the times last year for FEU, and it was very difficult for them. So very crucial to finally figure out sino ba FSA nila and to get another big man for the team. But so I agree with what Maui said. In relation to that, I think this is a very new Ateneo team. So if I'm Coach Tab, I will try to do whatever magic I did the first time I coached Ateneo and hope that they can come up with the same results. Remember, the first time he came into Ateneo, I think the 6-7 best players of Ateneo were released from the team. That's the reason why we didn't get to see CJ Perez. From the school. Actually, from the school. Some of the guys moved schools, diba? So that's the reason why we didn't get to see CJ Perez suit up for Ateneo. Arvin Tolentino ended up in FEU, etc., etc. And everybody said, this guy is crazy. Kasi we were expecting a loaded team, star-studded team, championship caliber team, and just kicked out half the team. And the best players too, diba? But we were really surprised that they competed, and I think they were nasaan ba sila sa Final Four noon? Nag-top 2 ba sila? Top 2, diba?
Number 2, yeah, they got the finals.
Yeah, so nag-number 2 pa yung Ateneo nung first year na yun. So, I know it looks really bad for Ateneo fans right now. But, if for some reason may mahanap na magic si Coach Tab, similar to that, where it looked really bleak. Ito talaga yung naalala ko for Ateneo fans. Like, it looked really bleak nung time na yun because we lost like the best players of the team. And they still made it to number 2 and they surprised. So hopefully, they still have that, or si Coach Tab and the rest of the team still have that somewhere, diba, na they can still surprise despite the initial results na walang napanalunan. Kasi it looks bleak. It looks very bleak for Ateneo right now. That's it for me. That's all I can add to that. Gab.
All right. So, yeah, I mean, that's the obvious answers, no, to find the big man. And to add, there is si Kobe De Mesana, but we've been hearing a lot that he's dealing with some health issues right now. So that's why he's barely played in the preseason and even in the past year. So he's dealing with something right now. And I don't think he'll be playing in the upcoming season as well. Also to add to the criticisms for Coach Tab and Ateneo, Ateneo has caught a lot, both from Ateneans and non-Ateneans alike. They've caught a lot of criticisms. And I think one of our commenters was right, was very on point about it. I think because there's a huge expectation of having a Tab Baldwin as your head coach, na kaya medyo taken aback ang mga tao na sobrang sama ng laro ng Ateneo. Diba? We've seen Coach Tab. You mentioned that year, Sammy, when they lost nearly all of their blue chip recruits to academic reasons and got kicked out of the school. And Coach Tab has always done things like this, you know, when he's given perhaps lesser tools than you want to win at that championship, and eventually he does wonders with it. That year in 2016, and even yung season 85. I don't know if you guys remember season 85. We were at Ion Ateneo. we didn't like our chances. We said, oh, we're not gonna compete for the title. And we ended up winning the championship. So I think there's an expectation for Tab Baldwin led teams to be good. And the fact that we're winless so far, I think it's kind of not the Coach Tab
not the norm.
Diba?
Diba?
Yeah, tama.
Yung Coach Tab's during Coach Tab's stint, diba?
Oo. So, but if I were Coach Tab, if I were the coach, it's actually I would change the way we play. Now, I know Coach Tab is a my way or the highway type of coach. He's probably not gonna do this. Diba? I mean, we've heard many interviews yung about Coach Tab. He sticks to the way he wants to play.
Trust the system. Diba?
Oh, you trust the system. He doesn't want to do it. But I think with the lineup that he has to make drastic changes or drastic adjustments, in my opinion. One is, I think, I'm not worried about the defense of Ateneo. Throughout the preseason, we've seen them be solid on the defensive end. They still have, despite lacking an FSA or a big man to protect the rim, they're still decent. Diba? They still hustle and they still rotate. I'm not worried about that. It's the offense that really worries me. And my answer for this, if I were the coach, if I were Coach Tab, I would install more early offense, more early sets, diba? Similar to what, and perfect that you said it, Sammy, similar to what FEU did last season, diba? As soon as they get a rebound or they inbound the ball, they push, they run a set, and they try to get an early shot. That, for me, with a team like what Coach Tab has now, a team that's small, a team that finds it difficult to get inside the paint, to get inside points, that finds it difficult to manufacture shots on their own, having early offense can be good because you're playing against a defense that's not set. Diba? For the most part of the preseason, and for the most part of Coach Tab's tenure, it's always bring it up, set up the play, let's run it. Diba? Run, have multiple options, and it's always against a set defense. Now, that might work if you have the right personnel, like Sina 30, Matt Nieto, Mike Nieto, Ange Kwame, Isaac Go, guys who can manufacture their own shots for the most part, and who really can work through the system and get good shots. But I don't think this team is that team. This team is young, very inexperienced. Aside from maybe Jared Bahay and Chris Kuhn, cannot manufacture their own shots. And maybe si Sean Tuanya to an extent, but he's inefficient, no? So ako, yun, early offenses. If we're gonna play small and we're not, I'm assuming we're not gonna have an FSA for the upcoming season, we have to play faster. We have to play against defenses that are not set, that are maybe struggling to get into the rotation just as they're getting back. So for me, yun like run an early yung pick and roll agad, and then pop it out to a shooter para for a wide open three. Diba? Get easier buckets. For me, ganun If we're gonna play small, if we're gonna play with this lineup right here, with a ton of wings and guards, I think we have to play somewhat like FEU. If we're gonna play Porter at the 5 and he can shoot threes, let's spread it. 5 out yung run a fast offense. For me, ganun because we struggle to score. So we have to find easier ways to score. So for me, that is one way. Highly unlikely, I repeat. Although I'm saying this, I think it's a 10% chance it will happen. Even 5% chance it will happen. Diba? Coach Tab is not this kind of coach. But again, if I were Coach Tab, that's what I would do. Maui or Sam, any comments?
Yeah, I think from what I've heard din naman from some credible people, diba? We've been hearing that Ateneo will play fast. I think the past 2 seasons, that was not the case last year. So maybe we see a different Ateneo different Ateneo strategy this coming season. Maybe they do play faster. The fact that they're willing to play Tuano at the 4, and I think si Chris Kuhn has been playing 4-2 for the past few games nung end of Phil Oil. I think they could experiment to go faster. The problem with that is, I think is that they could sacrifice their defense if they go faster. Diba? The tendency is if you go faster, you cannot control the tempo of the game. I don't know if that would be the best offense with Mason Amos and Jared Bae, but maybe Coach Tab surprises us. Right now, Ateneo has to find another way. Diba? Kasi they haven't won a single game in the preseason. I think that is something that no Ateneo team has ever experienced in the past. Maybe our parents can tell us a different story, but from my experience, from what I've seen throughout the years, diba, even the teams that have struggled have never struggled like this, diba? So it's gonna be exciting to see what happens to Ateneo, and it's different. In previous years, Ateneo used to train in different locations, diba, all around the world. I think they've had trainings in the US, they've had trainings in Europe, multiple locations, diba? Well, from what I've heard, this off-season, they're just gonna have training in Australia, then focus all training here in Manila. So maybe Coach Tab surprises us. Maybe kukulungin ni Coach Tab yung Ateneo Blue Eagles sa Laguna, like what he did to the Gilas team that really outperformed during the previous Olympic qualifier. But they have to find another way. Maybe we haven't seen enough of the Bahay and Amos combination. But I agree with Gab. We have a ton of wings. We have a ton of players who like to run. So maybe it's something that Ateneo could explore. Sam?
Yeah, nothing to add there. But siguro, to be fair to the other teams, no? Other teams have also stepped up. I would like to say that. I think like before, some teams they're not taking it seriously, but I feel like we've talked about this the past few seasons. There's more parity now, or we're more most of the teams are very competitive, so it's very difficult for Ateneo. Pag hindi ka magaling, it's harder for you to sort of crawl out of that because all the other teams are parang trying to be competitive as well. So yun yung challenge then, I think, for Ateneo. So moving on, the next team that we are going to talk about, obviously the defending champions, rival of the Ateneo Blue Eagles, the De La Salle Green Archers. So if you were the coach, Gab, and you saw what happened nung preseason, they won the championship in Pinoy Liga. We talked about that, and they lost to UP in Phil Oil. If you haven't seen that episode, please watch the previous episode. If you're Coach Topex, what would you do, Gab?
I would take a class on adjusting and maybe adjusting on the fly for in offense for Coach Topex. Because honestly, from his latest game, the lack of adjustments to me especially the second half against UP were glaring. And it's not like it's the first time he's not adjusted on the fly. There were many times in season 86, especially in that first round against UP, where we saw he did not adjust at all his offense. So if I were Coach Topex, I would, study more offensive sets, more simple adjustments that can be made. As I said, it was frustrating to watch that finals against UP because literally there was no adjustment from the LaSalle coaching staff on how to initiate the offense, on where to go, on what offensive sets to run, because UP just knew where they wanted the ball to start from or where they wanted to pass the ball, which led to a ton of turnovers. For me, again, we mentioned this roster-wise, I don't think they have to add anything. They have a ton of talented players. They don't have to look for another point guard, another playmaker. They have all the talent in the world on their team. Just look at how deep their team is, diba? So I don't think they should do anything from that perspective. But they should do something about in-game adjustments talaga eh. Yun talaga nakita ko sa LaSalle eh. In-game adjustments and composure. Composure, you can't really teach that, I think. I think that's something that players themselves have to develop over time, which is weird to say from a defending champion team, very weird to say that you have to develop composure, diba? But yeah, for me, it's simple, just in-game adjustments. Look for variability in the offense. Don't just rely on initiating from the top of the key. Maybe you can initiate from the wing, and then move into some motion yung off ball from the other side of the court to get KQ the ball, diba? And I'm sorry, but as long for KQ as well, for Coach Topex, you can't just give him the ball every single possession when he's on the court, diba? I don't think that's an efficient way to use KQ or to use his energy. Pagod din si KQ, diba? I do think we need something else. We saw this from last season in the finals. He started the game initiating the offense through Mike Phillips. Maybe have some of that. Maybe start initiating the offense through Adoy Dungo, which we've seen in the preseason. He's been given more freedom to make more plays. Maybe do that. But from the preseason, it's usually in big games. He starts it off by giving to KQ, and usually that's constant. When KQ's on the floor, ball is to KQ, ball is to KQ. I don't think that's the right way to use KQ. We didn't see that last year from Coach Topex. We didn't see him running everything through KQ. So I don't think it's high time to start now. He has a ton of talent on that bench that I think he can apply more variability to his offensive sets. Maui or Sam?
Yeah. Ako, connected yung sasabihin ko dun sa sinabi ni Gab. I think if I were Coach Topex, I would focus on ball handling and developing yung playmaking skills ng wings ko. I think I agree with Gab. They have the personnel, they have the talent. They showed naman nung first half against UP that they could be a very dominant team. It's about establishing consistency and establishing composure for me. I think si Ramiro has showed enough that he can be that point guard to start for LaSalle next season. I think I would say that Coach Topex wasn't adjusting as much maybe nung game because he wanted Dungo and Policarpio to get the ball handling, to be able to handle the ball a lot more. I think that's something that he experimented a lot during the UP game. It's similar to the way that I reacted when everyone was overreacting to Chris Kuhn playing point guard for Ateneo during the preseason. I think that Coach Topex didn't care if they won that game. They won that Philoil game. All that matters is the UAAP game. So it's actually very good for me to see that both Policarpio and Dungo have been getting more playmaking and have been bringing down the ball more during the P is the best backcourt, has the best backcourt rotation in the UAAP, and that showed nung second half. But I think they have all the tools. They just have to develop yung composure. They just have to develop more yung playmaking. And I'm talking about KQ also, di ba? When Coach Gold adjusted and put Torculas and Lopez, both of them did a pretty good job on KQ, not just on defending the post, but also on defending on the perimeter. I thought that was the best adjustment that Coach Gold made nung second half, aside from yung pressure defense niya. Playing full court defense on the wing player that was bringing down the ball, making LaSalle take longer to be able to run their sets. But I think they're in the right direction. So if I were the coach, I would continue what Coach Topex is doing, give playmaking opportunities to these wing players because they can't naman recruit another point guard. I don't think that they could recruit other point guards. They have a ton of capable point guards, a ton of blue chip recruit point guards from the high school, and even Ramiro is also one and done. They just have to build your composure, diba? They used to rely on Evan Nele a lot, diba? So Evan Nele was one of their leaders and really brought yung composure to the floor. It's just that they have to adjust, diba? We're seeing yung big void left by Nele. So for all the haters, diba, of Nele for overdriving or shooting badly, now you see yung effect of losing a player a caliber of Evan Nele. But for me, it's really about it's really about developing everyone everyone from the lineup. I think we've seen Mike Phillips also get some playmaking opportunities. So just continue developing yung playmaking, continue developing yung ball handling. I think that would be best also for the pro careers of players like Dungo, players like Phillips, players like Policarpio. But I've seen enough to see that they can and they will be one of the most dominant teams in the UAAP come season 87. Sam?
Yeah, good point. You mentioned Evanele. It would be very difficult, if not impossible, to completely fill in the hole left by Evanele because yung leadership, yung playmaking, yung experience that he brought to the table last year was very different, no? So we all agreed na he was very crucial to the team. But yun nga, it's really about filling in that hole as a committee and also adding the new parts that you have, diba? Last year, you did not have a guy like Henry Agonane playing as your FSA, and that's going to completely change the parang the dynamics of the team also. Alex Konov is also coming in, and we haven't seen that. So may other elements naman that are new that they can use or tools that Coach Topex can use. For me, if I were the coach, and this is with due respect to all the other UAAP teams, but if I'm Coach Topex, I would be just scouting UP and training LaSalle to prepare to play against UP in the championship. Kasi we've seen it in the preseason. UP and LaSalle right now, as of right now, are on a different level. They basically ran through Pinoy Liga and Phil Oil, the preseason in Pinoy Liga and Phil Oil. And it's a very competitive, those two are very competitive teams. And most probably, they're going to end up as the top two teams if all things stay the same, diba? Most probably, those are the top two teams in the UAAP. So, LaSalle cannot avoid, I think it would be very difficult for LaSalle to avoid UP. So, they have to be prepared. So if I'm Coach Topex, I would be making sure, basically what you guys said, what Maui said, to prepare this team to go up against UP at least 3 times in the finals, diba? Just to add to that, siguro, I know si UP kasi, if obviously UP losing to LaSalle last season, they have a chip on their shoulder. So I know this is just a preseason championship, but LaSalle lost to UP twice and lost the championship again. So, another thing I'm going to add there, if I'm Coach Topex, I'm going to milk that as much as possible and use that as a chip for these LaSalle players. Preseason lang to, but he has to hype up these players na parang tinalo kayo ng UP, ganyan. You have to be ready to go up against UP and get your revenge. I know they're the champions, but still, diba? It's really going to be LaSalle and UP right now as the top 2 teams. So, they have to be ready to face them. Yun lang. Moving on. Let's talk about the last team in the first part of our 2-part If You Were the Coach episode. The Far Eastern University Tamaraws. FEU Tamaraws, which have been very impressive sa preseason na to. I would say one of the teams that surprised us this preseason. So, Maui, let's get started with you. If you were the coach for FEU, what would you do? Magre-recruit ka pa ba ng mga Phil Foreign?
Yeah, I would continue to do that, but I think one of the things that we've talked about FEU for probably the past 3 years since we've had this podcast is shooting, diba? So if I were the coach, I would do one thing. Let them shoot 1,000 3-pointers a day. Everyone from the FSA, even the FSA to VJ Pre to the whole lineup basically, diba? I think they've shown enough this preseason that they can handle yung whatever coach Sean Chambers' system is. Diba? They've been able to run better sets. They've been able to play better offense. I think that's very important for FEU. Diba? So I would lock the gym and make them. Coaches usually have diba? Usually have a rule for free throws, diba? I would make it a rule for 3-pointers and say you have to make 1,000 3-pointers a day or 500 3-pointers a game before you can leave practice.
1,000? Grabe to si Maui pa.
Steph Curry na
500, I
silang
don't
lahat
know.
nun. Diba?
500 or
baka Steph Curry
whatever amount, diba? Whatever amount they have to shoot. Right now, kasi from what we've seen, it's only Felipe and Bautista who's shown that they have a knack for shooting, diba? We've seen in the past, if you only have 2 shooters, it could be very difficult to win games if both of those shooters are off, diba? So if I were the coach, I would lock the gym and require them to, sige, 200 na lang, Gab. I'd require them to make 200 3-pointers every practice. Diba? I would focus on making free throws and 3-pointers. If we can talk about yung modern basketball, the importance of 3-pointers, diba? It's one of the reasons why I think Lasal won the championship last year, because KQ was shooting a 3-point percentage. Maybe people were commenting all season, KQ shooting too much 3-pointers. KQ shooting 10 3-pointers a game. But if we look at it at an efficiency side, on the efficiency side, you'd see that KQ was actually shooting to like a Steph Curry-esque if you compare yung field goal ng NBA to the UAAP, di ba? KQ was hitting his 3-pointers at probably 35+% at shooting at 8 a game. So I would follow that same concept and do it. I think it's one of the reasons why Coach Jack has continued to surprise in the UAAP. He's a coach that believes that shooting 3-pointers could give you a chance to win any game, di ba? They've beaten huge teams. So for FEU to continue to succeed, I would work on that outside shot. I would make VJ Pre an outside shooter. I would make John Ray Pasaol a knockdown shooter. Everyone, basically, shooters. Shooters are very important. Gab.
Since you mentioned the shooting, I've answered that before, so I'm not gonna answer that. I would make 2 adjustments if I were Coach Sean Chambers. One, I mentioned this already previously, is bring Cholo Anunuevo off the bench and let him run the offense off the bench. Give less responsibility to Royce Alforque. I'm sorry, we've seen Royce Alforque now for how many seasons? 3 seasons?
Magaling siya ng battle for third, sa Piloy.
Magaling siya, Maui, but I think we know who Royce Alforque is at this point in his career. No? In the back point guard, even a starter for 3 seasons already, and I already saw it in season 85. Sabi ko, this guy, Joric Bautista, is much better than Royce Alforque. You can look back at those episodes. From years past, I said that. I was the first to say that. And I still think it's true. Royce Alforque is a steady guard, but he's not gonna light up the box score. He's not gonna win you games or you all by himself. Putting the ball in Cholo Anunuevo's hands as a bench player, I think can work wonders. Play a bit like how Coach Denok played last season. Diba? Play fast, run the ball, get easy baskets. Cholo can do that. We've seen him do that in seasons past. So I think they can set up the half court when it's si John Ray and si VJ Pre who's running the offense from the first unit. But if the second unit, I would introduce a change of pace and run the ball, diba? That's something they don't really do when it's VJ Pre or si John Ray. They usually do a lot of yung isolations, set up si Jurek for threes, or make VJ Pre yung work from the top of the key or from the post. That's how they play in the first unit. But in second unit, give a change of pace. I think that will serve them well, and I think that will catch a lot of second units of other teams off guard. So for me, yun eh. And my second adjustment that I would make, if I were Coach Sean Chambers, I would invest in Mohamed Konate. I mentioned this in our previous news recap episode. I don't know why they recruited another FSA for next season. Mm-hmm. I don't know why they're not investing more time and opportunity to be given to Mohamed Konate, because he's played very well in the preseason. Diba? I think he's made good account of himself as a FSA, and I don't know why suddenly there's an FSA lined up for season 88. No, I think if you're an FEU fan, you want this team to grow together. They're young, so I want more consistency. If we know that they've looked good so far in the preseason, imagine how they look with a season under their belt, a season 88. If this same unit can grow together, play together, and still play at season 88 with the same lineup, I think there's a championship coming, diba? And I don't know how si Shelton plays. I'm not gonna judge him for that. But si Konate has proven he's a very good defender. Can hang with the perimeter guys, can protect the rim, can grab rebounds. So for me, Coach Sean, I don't know why you recruited another FSA, but give Muhammad Konate a chance. I don't know if it's a one and done. I have not heard that. I'm assuming he's not.
Parang sa comment section natin, Gab, somebody said that I think Konate is eligible for 3 seasons. I'm not sure. I have to check it. I don't think it's a one and done.
Ayun. So all the more, no? All the more for me, I think more patience is needed with Muhammad Konate. I know he's not a ready-made product or the most dominant FSA in the UAAP, but he's been pretty good. For me, I mean, he's had 20 rebound games in the preseason, has racked up a lot of double-doubles. I don't know why the program is so low on him, that you found a replacement already. But that just doesn't make sense to me.
Balik na raw si Mo Fati.
From one Mo back to the previous Mo, and that will anger FEU fans, I'm sure. Mag-welga sila. Sammy, go ahead.
Good that you mentioned Muhammad Konate kasi for me, speaking of big men, if I'm FEU, I would invest in another solid backup big to Konate. We've talked about this in the past. With all due respect to Ona, Miguel Ona, I think they need another big man that they can play to be competitive. I think if they can find that one guy that can back up Konate, I think this team can surprise. And actually, Maui, diba, we were talking about, ang dami nang nare-recruit ni Coach Sean Chambers recently sa FEU. I think may nadagdagan na naman ng dalawa, if I'm not mistaken. But just like with Ateneo, I keep looking at the recruits, tas chine-check ko yung height. Oh, big man na ba to? Big man na ba to? I don't think they have found one. I could be mistaken, but I think that's the one, just like Ateneo, that's the one thing that they do need is another backup big for Konate. With that, I think they could be a very solid contender. And Maui, I like that you mentioned was it Maui or Gab? Cholo Año. We haven't seen him. We haven't seen him the entire preseason. I'm a bit worried. So if I'm Coach Sean Chambers, I have to hope and pray na I can have him play this coming season, because I think he will be a crucial part of this team. One of the things that they lack is depth. So if I'm Coach Sean Chambers, I have to make sure that Cholo Año will be healthy for the coming season and will stay healthy for the coming season. So I like that you're trying to remove some of the responsibility from him by putting him... I remove some of the pressure from him by putting him in the bench and making him one of the best 6 men, probably. But I think he would be a crucial part of the team. So I'm hoping na Cholo Año will be able to come back. But yun lang. Other than another backup big, nothing to add. I agree with what you guys said.
Yeah. I think si Año, I saw him sa Phil Oil. So he hasn't left. Maybe he's still injured. Actually, Sam, I agree. They need to get another big man. I think everyone from the FEU community was excited when si Montel Shelton was announced, diba? We didn't know if he was an FSA or, diba? Or ano.
Parang akala Phil Foreign, diba? Phil Foreign.
Yeah, everyone, I think more than half were, I was part of that was excited kasi parang I was expecting him to be Phil Am, di ba? But apparently he's an FSA. So, yeah, I agree with your point, Sam.
Okay. So that's it for the first part of our If You Were the Coach episode. If you like this, please comment down below, like the post, and share with your friends. If you haven't yet, please subscribe and stay tuned for part 2 where we talk about the rest of the UAAP teams. We'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.